What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and that's right, here it is. We are finally there. We have done ROH Supercard of Honor. We have done Impact Multiverse of Matches. We have done NXT Not Takeover Stand and Deliver, and it is time for the main event, even though it's 2 nights, it's technically 2.5 nights, and it's going to take up most of the weekend. And yeah, initially, I will say as a quick note, initially I was going to do this as 2 videos. I was going to do 2 separate videos, one for Friday, or sorry, one for Saturday, one for Sunday. And I'm not going to do that just because of the way the week has kind of gotten away from me, and because of the way the recording schedule has gotten away from me, and because they announced once again that they are doing WrestleMania SmackDown. So I'm not going to do 3 videos, am I? I might as well just do one. I'm on the brink of Friday and my extended long weekend that I've given myself. It's Thursday night. I am incredibly tired, and I know I lead off a lot of videos with that, but you can tell in my voice, yeah, I need to catch some sleep, and I need to do some other things to get ready for what's going to be a pretty fun weekend. Multiverse of Matches is sort of all over the place, as you guys know. I've been getting more and more into Impact. ROH was a preview that I pretty much could only do because I had Guapo here with me to walk me through some stuff. NXT is still an experience for me because not to beat a dead horse, but NXT Black and Gold used to be the flagpole of this channel, and then they kind of killed it, but it's still kind of fun. And WrestleMania, much like Stand and Deliver, it's a whole card of not too much of it is super fantastic, but a whole lot of it I think is going to be really fun. I think this is going to be a relatively quick preview video because I don't have a whole lot to say about a lot of the things that are going on. I'm going to quickly knock out WrestleMania SmackDown, which is just really bad. I thought WrestleMania SmackDown was going to be a one-off thing when they did it last year. WrestleMania SmackDown took place in the Thunderdome, which was extra depressing. Let's not ever go back to that because I didn't think it was something they wanted to do. I thought it was because on the Saturday last year they didn't want the first thing a live crowd saw to be a kickoff, which I sort of understood at the time, and I was sort of for it at the time. But the way that they have just jam-packed everything together this weekend, I want to say once again, quick shout out to Good Mic Work, who said, who put the suggestion out there that if they're going to keep jam-packing these WrestleMania weekends like this, take the Hall of Fame and move it to SummerSlam weekend. I still think that's a fantastic idea. I still think they could move SmackDown off of Friday for 1 week and have not the takeover, I have to stop saying that, but the NXT show on Friday, and just have like NXT, WrestleMania, and have that be it. But there's a lot, as I've said on multiple videos at this point. Friday is the most loaded night of the weekend because you've got Multiverse of Matches, because you've got Supercard of Honor, because you've got the Hall of Fame, because you've got SmackDown, because you've got Rampage if you're still watching your weekly shows. I guess I should touch on it quickly. I mean, obviously it goes without saying, The Undertaker going into the Hall of Fame. I could sit here all day and tell you about how awesome Undertaker going into the Hall of Fame is, but if you know, you know, and if you don't, I have to assume you just started watching wrestling yesterday. Vader was long overdue as well. The Steiners, I don't want to be nitpicky or conspiratorial, but I do think it has a lot to do with Braun Breaker and the beginning of his NXT run. I'm not going to say much about the induction of Booker T's wife because that's what it is. It's the induction of Booker T's wife. I will say, very, very cool announcement on WWE's part to make Shad Gaspard the recipient of the Warrior Award, as it still seems like yesterday that we lost him from the wrestling world, and there's not much else you can say. I will say, because they got a chance to work with him at some point on something, I don't even remember what it was, go back and look at any of the coverage from What Culture on the passing of Shad Gaspard and the announcement of him going into the Hall of Fame as part of the Warrior Award section. I do think it's kind of strange, especially because WWE has had some success with their celebrity involvement in the past couple of years. There's no celebrity inductee, like there's no celebrity wing this year, which is a little bit of a bummer. And obviously, because this is being filmed right after SmackDown at the same venue and all, it is a smaller class. It's going to be a shorter show, which is again why I say take the suggestion of good mic work and maybe slap it on SummerSlam weekend instead. So we look forward, or I say we look to tonight because I'm releasing this on Friday. WrestleMania SmackDown. I should say again, also, there's been no announcement about a women's Battle Royal. And the Battle Royals are what they are, but they're still doing the Andre, so the fact that they're not doing the women's Battle Royal is it's a bit shit, but at the same time, they're not missing out on much. United States Champion Finn Balor and Damian Priest have been building up a feud all the way towards WrestleMania. They're not having a match. They're both in the Battle Royal, which is just insane. Along with Apollo Crews, Commander Aziz, Robert Roode, Jinder Mahal, Shanky, R-Truth, Mansoor, Madcap Moss, Eric, Ivar, Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, Akira Tozawa, and Drew Gulak, along with Reggie. I'm looking along here, and I hate to put in the funny answer, but we thought Omos was going to be in this, and he was a shoo-in to win that because, how are they going to get him over the top rope? Maybe this is where they debut Veer. Maybe there's a bait and switch with him debuting on the Monday after. I don't know what else you do. I mean, they could give it to Robert Roode, but it's such a gimme, the Andre Battle Royal, unless there's somebody that it makes sense for. Like, it made sense to give it to the Big Show because Big Show and Andre the Giant, etc. Maybe give it to Robert Roode just so he's got something. His tag team partner is on a completely different brand this weekend. I mean, unless they're going to feature him at the NXT show, I don't know what else you do with him. It's kind of a bummer, too, because I know it's an unpopular take, I like the NXT champion version of Dolph Ziggler, but his tag team partner is somebody that actually was a former NXT champion, so him not being featured on that show, let alone at all this weekend, is a bit strange. You want to have somebody a little bit more fun and feel good, you could give it to Reggie. They could do something weird like give it to one of the Viking Raiders, but why aren't the Viking Raiders fighting for a tag team title on Saturday or Sunday? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Damian Priest, maybe. Apollo Crews, Jinder Mahal being in there is weird. Jinder Mahal and Shanky being in there almost makes it seem more like that they're going to put Veer in there as well, because I think splitting them up and then holding Veer off and doing this extended wait thing with Veer is it's one of the punchlines in WWE that a lot of people love, especially if you're the super positive guys like a Simon Miller or an Adam Wilborn type person. It's fun, but it's not good. Like, I hate to say it like that, but it's not. So yeah, not gonna lie, not gonna pretend I care about the Andre Battle Royal, because clearly they don't, because they threw the United States champion and his number one contender in there. If Austin Theory wasn't busy elsewhere on the card, I would have loved to have them pluck out of the Andre Battle Royal Finn Balor and Damian Priest, throw them in a three-way with Austin Theory on the night. Or you could have had, for the fun of it, because I don't think there's any Raw versus SmackDown on this year's WrestleMania, because that only happens at Survivor Series. You could have had champion versus champion, face versus face, nice respectful match between Finn Balor and the Intercontinental Champion Ricochet, but no, Ricochet, and I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth, except yes I can, because it's WWE, Ricochet is defending his Intercontinental Championship on SmackDown instead of WrestleMania against the tag team of Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo in a triple threat match against a tag team, because he lost to both of them last week, because they really quickly needed to realize that they had nothing for the Intercontinental Champion to do. Ricochet needs to win this, but also when he does win it, it's not going to matter. So that's really depressing. The champion's going to retain, and it's not going to mean anything because it's not really part of WrestleMania. Andre, I'm gonna throw it out there. I'm gonna throw it out there and say Robert Roode, even though that's not going to do much to help him either. Let's go on to Saturday. Let's go on to night one of WrestleMania, and Jesus goddamn Christ, this is the last time I'm gonna talk about this, thank God. Seth Rollins versus a mystery opponent of Vince McMahon's choosing, and it's gonna be Cody Rhodes, isn't it? And I've gone back and forth, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this, because if you go back to the ROH and Impact podcast that would have gone out tomorrow, as you guys are listening to this, Guapo and I talked about this in a lot more detail, but I'm going to try and be a little bit more positive in this, because I don't care. Like, Cody Rhodes is obnoxious, and I don't respect anybody involved if he's actually back in WWE. I don't respect WWE, and I don't respect him, and everybody can kind of fuck off. But I do like the idea in theory. Now, you guys know, I said a similar thing when the Royal Rumble came around, and they announced that Mickie James was coming back to participate in the Women's Royal Rumble. Now, I used to like Mickie James. I used to think that Mickie James was great. She was the crazy stalker person of Trish Stratus back in the day. And she genuinely is a great wrestler. I can't take that away from her even now. But she's just become a little obnoxious, and she's kind of done a Stephanie McMahon of, like, you know, she acts like she's recreated the whole concept of women's wrestling. And she really hasn't. She's been a big fish in a small pond on Impact, and she's gotten to play around in the NWA because her husband is there. You know, I hate to say it like that, but it's true. She's like a Naomi, or like a Bianca Belair, or somebody of that like, where yes, they have ability, but it doesn't hurt that you have a really famous, really popular husband. But when they made the announcement about the Royal Rumble, I wasn't excited to see Mickie James per se, but I was excited to see what her inclusion represented, because not only was it somebody from Impact, not only was it a current somebody from Impact, but it was an Impact champion. It was an Impact champion being recognized by WWE. It wasn't just, oh, look, it's WWE legend Mickie James, and let's stretch the definition of that word to its fullest extent. But it was current, reigning, recognized Impact Knockout champion Mickie James. It opened the door to speculation like, oh, well, Moose is the Impact World Champion. I wonder if he's going to show up in the Guys Rumble. And it started, as obnoxious as the conversations are, it started the conversation of, is there an open door between Impact and WWE? There's a lot of cool possibilities. Could I see, one of my personal favorites, Josh Alexander, show up on a WWE show? It started those types of conversations. So, wasn't really excited specifically to see Mickie James, but more excited to see what that represented. And it is the same thing here, because everybody, and myself included to the most part, because I don't hate AEW as much as people think I do, but everybody that left WWE and showed up in AEW was like, oh my god, look, AEW saved another talent, oh my god, that's another win for us. It is a win. Like, there was eventually going to be a change in the wind, a change in the tide. There was going to be somebody that was going to go the other way. Now, I wouldn't have predicted that it would have been one of the guys that started the company. That's huge. The symbolism of that, the meaning behind that is huge. My opinion of Cody Rhodes aside, my opinion of Cody as a person, as a character, whether I want to see him on my TV or not, the symbolism of that is absolutely huge. I don't want to stray into hyperbole, but it would be like WWE signing Kenny Omega. It would be along those lines. It would be like the Bucks carrying the WWE Raw or the NXT tag team titles. It would be like Britt Baker coming in and defeating Charlotte Flair. There's that bridging symbolism, that, like, who's going to be the first one to jump the other way, and that, much more than oh my god, we all just love Cody, that is a much more interesting conversation, and I will love to see how that plays out, and I will love to see how WWE specifically handles that, because while WWE is considered the really, really petty, really, really chintzy company, if you look at the two companies and how they relate to each other, and how much one represents the other, and how much one references the other, it's all AEW. All the barbs that have gone from one side to the other have been from AEW to WWE. There was one time in the middle of a promo where Sami Zayn, I was about to say Sammy Guevara, but different show, when Sami Zayn was talking to the fans and he says, "Oh, I've got one of the best wrestling minds. You could have asked me anything. You could have asked me about AEW." That was the biggest shot they ever took on TV, and it wasn't even a shot. All the shots have been the other way. They did the Impact thing, or what TNA used to do back in the day. Very first thing they would do if they had a new guy come in is they would come in and have them shit on the WWE. Jericho's done it. Hager's done it. Miro's done it. To a lesser degree, Ruby Soho did it a little bit. Not that I don't like seeing the jumps. We had Toni Storm join Dynamite just this week because she was the first one to qualify for the Owen, which is fucking amazing. By the way, love Toni Storm, love to see her in something like the Owen. It's fantastic. But as far as how WWE is going to handle this transition of having somebody from AEW jump over, it's a much more interesting conversation than to have a conversation about who that person is, because who that person is Cody Rhodes, whose name was pretty much made in WWE, and who, as a person, I find obnoxious. So much like the Mickie James thing, I don't care for the person, I love the conversation around the symbolism. He's going to face Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins made a great point in an interview. It was brought up by What Culture the other day. I don't remember who the initial interview was by, but it was basically talking about how all the shots from AEW across the bow seem really, really desperate, and WWE hasn't done a whole lot of those because, quite frankly, it's below them. Now, I'm not one to stick up for WWE much these days, but that is absolutely true. They have avoided the muck. Like, they might be considered the bad guys in most people's books, but they have avoided the muck that AEW has rolled around it, and that's just a fact. People hate Seth Rollins for saying that, but it is what it is. And Seth Rollins, as great a character as he is going to be the sacrificial lamb for this big announcement. I do hope they troll us, though. I do hope that Vince McMahon comes out and says, "Here's your opponent," and everybody chants Cody and cheers for Cody and all this sort of thing, and out comes Shane McMahon, or out comes a returning Elias, or, to go back to what I said earlier, out comes Veer, and then Seth Rollins goes through them in like 5 seconds and says, "Okay, well, here's your real opponent." Because if they do it directly the way it is right now, the guy that talks so much shit about WWE coming back to be Vince McMahon's handpicked opponent is very strange, and it's very interesting. He's going to win. As downhearted as that is for me to say, the match doesn't matter. The event of him showing up is more important than the match, and I'm not an idiot. I know that that's the case, and Seth Rollins is there to lose, which is fine. Let's move on. The Raw Women's Championship, which would potentially be a main event for night one if Becky Lynch had a better opponent. It's Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair, and I've talked this into the ground, so I'm not going to talk about it very much here tonight. Becky Lynch came back. She took out Bianca Belair at SummerSlam, which everybody said, "Oh my God, she cheated. She was so hard done by," and da-da-da-da-da. No. Becky sat face-to-face with her and got her in an armbar, and she submitted. She lost the title to a larger star. I'm sorry. You put Becky Lynch on the marquee, it's going to get more attention than Bianca Belair, other than the weird identity politics weirdos on Twitter. Becky Lynch headlined a house show that I was at this past weekend with Rhea Ripley. If that was the match that we were getting this Saturday, I would push for this to maybe be the main event. Now, Charlotte Ronda is the result of the Royal Rumble, so I would have a losing argument there, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, I think they're telling this really sad story about Bianca Belair, the babyface that just cut off a bunch of Becky Lynch's hair on Raw, because that's... Oh, don't make another Oscars joke. Don't make another Oscars joke. Don't make another Oscars joke. I would love to say Becky Lynch retains here, but I also know better. Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio versus The Miz and Logan Paul is going to be a lot of fun. Logan Paul is the perfect celebrity to pair with The Miz. I think because it's the celebrity pairing, they're going to get the win. Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio don't lose anything by losing this match. so young in Dominic's career to have as many WrestleMania moments already as he has is pretty fucking great. So seeing them show up on NXT the other week made me think it might help Dominic Mysterio to actually stay on NXT for a while. I don't really know what you do with Rey Mysterio at this point. The Miz is awesome, pun intended, and I can't help but think that this would be Miz and Morrison if WWE hadn't fired Morrison. But then again, I got to see John Morrison take on Josh Alexander at a Destiny show last weekend. Check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. Oh, yes. So The Miz and the Celebrity, or Lucha Logan. Yeah, I want Logan Paul to come out in the Mysterio mask for WrestleMania. I want The Miz and Logan Paul to have a luchador entrance at WrestleMania, because I think that'll be boss. Actually, speaking of entrances, there's been the leaked photos that you usually get of the early setup for WrestleMania at the I can't even remember the name of the stadium that they're in now. The setup of the stadium and the ringside area, etc., looks pretty plain from what I've seen, other than the big star that's part of the logo, because they're in Texas, the Lone Star State and all that kind of thing. I think it's just a big screen like we've gotten at a couple other WrestleManias and at most of the Saudi shows. Now, last year for WrestleMania, we had the big pirate ship, which was awesome, but they had 2 years to put that together, didn't they? I don't think we're getting anything nearly as creative this year, unfortunately, which is a bit of a bummer, but it is what it is. Drew McIntyre is going to kill Happy Corbin, and that's all I'm going to say about that. He's coming to the ring with Madcap Moss, but Madcap Moss is also in the Andre the night before. Now, they're playing up a little bit that Corbin's been beaten up on his sidekick a little bit, so he could have his babyface moment, he could have his Damian Sandow moment, but let's be real, Drew McIntyre's getting robbed this year of a WrestleMania moment, because what the fuck is a match with Baron Corbin? Because didn't they fight last year or something similar to this? Wish I had more to say about that, but it's Drew McIntyre getting a quick murdering at WrestleMania just to do something. This is a guy, again, this is like like Drew McIntyre, Rhea Ripley, Bayley, and Asuka are the ones that really got robbed at their respective WrestleManias when they were the ones keeping us all together during COVID and holding titles. Asuka held us up, and Bayley held us up, and Drew McIntyre held us up. Rhea Ripley's match with Charlotte Flair should have been a lot better than it was as well. Drew McIntyre, sooner than later, needs to get some recognition for what he did for the WWE during the, I don't know what you want to call it, the Thunderdome era, the PC era, the crowdless era. He hasn't had his moment back yet. Another one that's going to be pretty cut and dry is Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs are going for the SmackDown Tag Team Champions against the current champions, the Usos. The Usos are not losing those belts as long as the Bloodline thing is going strong, are they? Nakamura, Rick Boogs are a fun pairing. Shinsuke Nakamura is there for a good time, not a title time, if I can really misuse that song lyric. Rick Boogs is a comedy act. He is impressive in the ring when he gets going in the ring, but more so, he's a comedy act. And the Usos are the only tag team in the WWE that gets treated with any reverence in a company that doesn't really give a shit about tag teams. So the Usos are going to win, especially because their family doesn't have anything else to worry about until the next night. Now you got another tag team match that is sort of surrounded in all kinds of sadness, which is King Woods and Kofi Kingston taking on Sheamus and Ridge Holland with Butch in their corner. Now, first of all, they've turned Pete Dunne into Butch. Now, the Black and Gold NXT part of my heart cries for that, but the Destiny Wrestling, check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list, part of my heart cries over that fact. And not only that, but they've brought him up to the main roster to be Butch, to just stand at ringside while Sheamus and Ridge Holland have a match. It should be the other way around. At the very least, if they're doing this match, it should be Sheamus and Butch with Ridge Holland as the heavy on the outside. But that's not what we're getting. you can't talk about this, and I'm not blaming Ridge Holland, don't get me wrong, but you can't talk about this match without talking about what happened to Big E and him breaking his neck in 2 places, and that's got to be weighing heavy on everybody's heart, but you sort of counteract that with the happiness of the return of Xavier Woods, and we hope something cool happens with them going forward. I really do, and I keep saying this, but I have to reiterate it. This is not a dig at Kofi Kingston or Big E. I just hope Xavier Woods gets his moment. And as much, I mean in WWE, in some sort of main event focus, and as much as he wanted it himself, the King of the Ring doesn't count for that. It really doesn't. King Woods, Kofi Kingston. I hope the New Day win, and I hope King Woods is the one that gets the pin on whoever loses. That's my hope for that. I hope they find some way to either have... There's no way this is going to happen, but I wish they could find a way to maybe have Big E on commentary, or like we could get a couple of comments from Big E via satellite before the match starts. Something like New Day always acknowledge each other. When one of them is injured, the other two always manage to find a way to reference them. They're a very good group that way, but I hope WWE follows suit and finds a way sometime within this match to acknowledge Big E, because that's some scary shit he's going. I mean, I know he's trying to be super positive guy on social media and like let the fans know that, you know, it's okay, I'm still here, da 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 da. But I want to see something as simple as King Woods hitting the big ending on somebody, like even if it's just on Butch Shudder on the outside. Some sort of tribute to Big E in this match sort of has to happen, because other than that, if you take out the Butch thing, and if you take out the real life struggle that Big E is having right now, this is a SmackDown match, and that's the end of it. So there has to be more to it than that. It's rumored to be... Hold on. And we're back. You gotta love technical difficulties when you're not even halfway through the preview. The next thing I want to talk about is the KO show with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, apparently, if you follow the rumors and innuendos, this is actually going to main event night 1, which is weird, unless it turns into an actual match. Austin being there in Texas is going to do exactly what it needs to do. KO is the perfect person to have him do it with. It's going to pop the crowd. I think it's a little cynical to say that you have to put this at the end or people are going to leave, because if people have bought tickets to a 2-night show, I don't think they're leaving before the show is over, especially considering I'm sure the tickets cost a pretty penny. I don't know what they do with this, other than maybe have it either turn into a brawl or a match, because one of them is going to hit a stunner on the other, or both of them are going to hit a stunner on each other, or a third person interrupts and they get double stunnered by the two of them. That's the 3 ways this can go. It'll be a spectacle, it'll be nice, it'll be cool for Austin, who hasn't done anything physical in like 19 years other than do an interview segment and stun somebody. I don't really know what else to say. I'm curious to see what this is going to do. Whatever this does with all the hype that they've put into it, it could be one of the highlights of the night, or it could be a fart in the wind. Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. You've got the best women's wrestler in WWE, don't fight me on that, versus the biggest female sports name that they could get in Ronda Rousey, as far as somebody who is huge outside of WWE, but also has a past already with WWE, and she won the Royal Rumble, which pissed off everybody except me, because I like Ronda Rousey. I really do, and I like Charlotte Flair, and I like that Charlotte Flair is one of the best women in the company, and I like how much that fact that people can't get away from winds them up. This could be one of the best matches of the entire weekend, and that's going to round out night 1. That is going to round out night 1, so I'm going to go through night 1 once again. Rollins is going to get beat by Cody Rhodes, which is fine, I guess. Bianca Belair is going to use a whole lot of politics to beat Becky Lynch. The Celebrity and The Miz are going to beat the Mysterios. Drew McIntyre is going to kill Happy Corbin, because that match shouldn't exist. The Usos are going to retain. The New Day are going to take on Sheamus and Ridge Holland with Butch, and they're going to get a win. KO and Steve Austin are going to do something, and call me crazy, but I think Charlotte Flair retains. I think Charlotte Flair retains, because Becky Lynch is going to lose, unfortunately, because the agenda is a thing. And as we get into Sunday, the tag team champions are going to lose. Now, we got Queen Zelina and Carmella. Now, I like Zelina Vega. The Queen Zelina thing is a little bit forced. Carmella and Corey Graves are trying really hard to be Sammy Guevara and Tay Conte. And they work for a PG company, so they can't make jokes about spunking on a belt. And if they could make jokes, the fact that she's coming to the ring and wrestling with a mask on is a goldmine for comedy. Now, they're taking on Sasha Banks and Naomi. Now, why are Sasha Banks and Naomi in this match? Because the entire world that is driven by identity politics wants Sasha Banks, Naomi, and Bianca Belair to all be in world title matches. And they can't all be in world title matches because there's the rest of the division to consider. So they've pulled the old string that Sasha Banks, Naomi, and Tamina used to be a trio. I was about to say a threesome, and then I threw up in my mouth a little. And they've thrown them into this match to say, look, don't worry, we're going to give them gold. Don't worry. You got Natalya and Shayna Baszler, who are not going to win. Natalya is probably going to be sort of the captain of the ship, keeping this match together, and Shayna Baszler is just legit as hell and going to do some impressive looking stuff. And then you've got the team that probably should win, consisting of Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan is scary over, especially on social media, and Rhea Ripley is probably one of the biggest badasses they have. When I said it, and I said it before, and I'll say it again, and I've said it since the Mae Young Classic, I've said it since NXT UK, I've said it since they were both in NXT, along with Toni Storm, Rhea Ripley, ... fucking star. Now, when they stuck her with Nikki Ash, that was terrible. I was hoping they would stick her with my girl Shotzi, who's dropped off the face of the world. But, like, how the fuck over is Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley? I would say flip the script a little bit, team Rhea Ripley up with my girl Shotzi, and have Liv Morgan team up with Alexa Bliss, because you brought Alexa Bliss back and didn't do anything with her. But Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, by all means, look like they're having a blast as a tag team. Super happy for them. Kind of like the reunited Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez on NXT. I might not even like what's going on right now, but they look like they're having fun with what they're doing. So have a fun thing. You had Rhea Ripley defending the NXT championship at WrestleMania, which was a huge history-making thing, and then she had to lose to Charlotte Flair, which is fine, but have her have a golden moment at WrestleMania, because she hasn't had one yet. So yeah, Natalya and Shayna Baszler are there to fill out the numbers. Queen Zelina and Carmella are there to basically bring the belts to the ring, and it's going to come down to the social justice choice versus the ones that should actually win. I think I know how it's going to go, but I'm still going to cheer for Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. Let's move on. Johnny Knoxville and Sami Zayn. Now, here's where I got to get a bit controversial, because I think this is going to be a whole lot of fun. Sami Zayn knows how to play the WWE game. He makes himself really, really entertaining. He makes himself the butt of all the jokes. He makes himself the punchline so that he can get to a moment like this and do the match. If they didn't have Johnny Knoxville here to do the celebrity thing, I fully believe that Ricochet winning the Intercontinental Championship would have happened at WrestleMania. Sami Zayn could have held on to that belt. He could have cried conspiracy a little bit longer, because that was a lot of fun. And you could have had Sami Zayn versus Ricochet at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental Championship, because people freaked out when we thought that Johnny Knoxville was going to be fighting for the Intercontinental Championship. And I get that, but like, it'd still be fun, and it would be a better spot than what the Intercontinental Championship is in now. And I should say, that's not an insult to Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo, because I think they're entertaining individually. I think they're a half-decent tag team, but they haven't been built up for anything, and they built to that match really stupidly on SmackDown. But yeah, like I say, if they hadn't had the celebrity time with Johnny Knoxville, I truly do believe that Sami Zayn versus Ricochet for the Intercontinental Championship would have been a better match option, but it also would have gotten the Intercontinental Championship onto the card. Knoxville's going to win for the same reason as Logan Paul's going to win. The celebrities usually do. And Sami Zayn is setting himself up to be the guy that does a bunch of annoying shit and then gets punched in the face. Again, we don't have Will Smith at WrestleMania, so this is the next best thing. Johnny Knoxville's going to kick the shit out of Sami Zayn. I don't watch Jackass. I've never seen one of the Jackass movies, shows, whatever, but I gather that a bunch of Johnny Knoxville's friends are going to be there from Jackass, and it's an anything goes match, which basically means not only can he bring all his friends, but anybody else that's frustrated with Sami Zayn can also get involved, and Sami Zayn can just he can be the comedy foil, but he can be you remember when they did, I think it was Raw 1000 or Raw 25, and leading up to it, you had Heath Slater, and he just kept on challenging all these legends, and every single one of them kicked his ass, and then on the day, they all came back and kicked his ass because he was that great a comedy guy that just kept putting his foot in his mouth and kept getting himself in bad situations and kept getting destroyed. I think Sami Zayn, although Sami Zayn could be doing a lot more, he's great at that. Omos versus Lashley is weird. Omos is a limited big guy. Lashley was injured for a while. He was injured. They set up a whole thing at the Elimination Chamber where he got taken out without really even taking a bump because he legitimately had to go deal with some medical stuff. Him coming back to do this is not great. And there's no way to say this that doesn't sound like I'm shitting on Omos, but maybe Lashley should have been held off until a Raw after WrestleMania return. Because you could have Lashley come back on the Raw after, you could have Asuka come back on the night after, you could have Bayley come back on the night after, you could have Alexa Bliss come back on the night after. I don't know who else is on the injury list right now, but everybody that didn't have something to do could come back on the night after. You can bring up some people from NXT on the night after, and he could have gone onto that list. I don't know what this match is supposed to do because Omos is this big, unconquerable mountain person, so he can't really lose. Lashley had a pretty decent title run, and then he got injured, so he really can't come back and lose. I don't think there's a good answer here. I think Lashley comes in and he's the one to topple Omos, but once the unconquerable mountain guy is toppled, like, what does he do after that? He doesn't have the tag team championship, or he doesn't have the tag team with AJ Styles anymore, so he just sort of becomes the Big Show. And that doesn't really hit anybody. And I don't see Lashley immediately jumping into a feud with anybody either. So that one is kind of an anomaly. I do think it's kind of just a match that's there to be there. I said on the Saturday with New Day versus Sheamus and Ridge Holland, if it wasn't for the stuff that was going on in real life around that match would be a SmackDown match. This match, unfortunately, is not even a match I would put on Raw. That's bad. What I would put on TV, because of the characters involved, is Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory. Now, I don't know how the hell this came about. I don't know what the logic is behind this. I love Pat McAfee on commentary. I love how he hopped off commentary to show what he could do against Adam Cole in NXT, because that was fantastic. Austin Theory is somebody that's going to be somebody at some point. I think it's pretty easy to say that Pat McAfee's going to go in there and do some, hey, he's pretty good for a commentator stuff, and then lose to Austin Theory. There's going to be a weird selfie moment, and Austin Theory is going to beat Pat McAfee, and all of that is going to be motivated by Vince McMahon. And it's all very strange, because not only was this motivated by Vince McMahon, and Austin Theory is Vince's choice, but again, the Rollins thing, Cody Rhodes is Vince's choice. So do Cody Rhodes and Austin Theory go for the tag team titles? I don't know, because they haven't ever really said. Austin Theory's acting on behalf of Vince McMahon after Pat McAfee had Vince McMahon on his show and just made him look like a really decent guy. So I don't know what the motivation is there. I do love the whole Vince McMahon Austin Theory dynamic that started with the egg. But that's only funny because of how ridiculous it is. Pat McAfee is a big athletic dude, and he showed what he could do not only against Adam Cole, but also in the War Games match. So I expect something interesting from him. I expect him to get up from commentary in his commentary attire, but like wearing shorts, because that's a weird thing. We need to stop commenting on people's pants, because we do it with Pat McAfee in WWE, and then every match CM Punk has in AEW, it's like, oh, which kind of tights is he wearing? It's a weird conversation that's developing in wrestling. But then Austin Theory he's gonna win. Technology fails again. What do we have next? We have RKO versus the Street Profits versus Alpha Academy for the Raw Tag Team Championship, and I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. Street Profits are going to win. I think we're going to have a Street Profits / Bianca Belair celebration on Raw that's going to make me absolutely sick to my stomach, but the Street Profits are a really good tag team. Alpha Academy are good counters to them, and RK Bro have to split up eventually. RK Bro are a great team. I've heard it said by a lot of people that everybody expected Randy Orton to turn on Riddle a lot sooner than this, and he hasn't, and he's actually embraced Riddle as a tag team partner. So the swerve would be to have Riddle, the laid back stoner guy, actually turn heel on Randy Orton, which I think is a really interesting dynamic. I don't know how they explain it, but it is what it is. Alpha Academy are a great mid-level team, so keep them together, and the Street Profits are awesome. Let them hold on to the belts for a while. It sounds really lazy and predictable, but like I start thinking later on down the line when you get to something like Survivor Series, and you have like the champions versus champions, like set us up for Street Profits versus the Usos. It's right there. It basically, that's why something like Survivor Series writes itself. You got a team that's great and another team that's great, and they've both got belts. I mean, RK Bro took on the Usos this week, which wouldn't be anything interesting if it wasn't for the fact that they both have titles on their respective brands, and all four of them can stand across from each other, all holding up belts, and it's a nice visual thing, and visual is visceral, and it's all good. Alpha Academy are entertaining as hell. They don't necessarily need the titles, and RK Bro at any given point in time can go off and have 2 singles runs. Somebody released to me in the past couple of days the fact that Randy Orton did an interview where he said nobody at NXT knows how to wrestle, and I really would be entertained if that was a work to lead into Randy Orton having a run in NXT, because I think Randy Orton in NXT is a visual that I don't think I can get over. Edge is taking on AJ Styles because Edge needed a match and AJ Styles needed a match, and people wanted to see this match, and that's why the match is happening. To make the match work, one of them had to turn heel. AJ Styles just turned face, so Edge just turned to turn heel, where he gets all dark and edgy and brooding, pun intended, and he does all the over-the-top amateur dramatic stuff that everybody else hates, and it winds everybody up, and that makes me smile. But also Edge is a hometown boy, so I'm a little bit biased. It's great. It's a whole lot better than saddling AJ Styles with Omos as a tag team partner, and AJ Styles as a babyface ain't half bad either. Edge is at the point in his career where he can't lose anything by losing a match. The fact that he is, at this point, the fact that he's come back, the fact that he is able to wrestle at all anymore means any match he's in is already a victory. As cheesy as that sounds, he can afford to give AJ Styles a win. I think he will give AJ Styles a win. I think he will try to cheat at some point, and he'll end up fucking himself up, and that's how you get to AJ Styles getting a win. And then the biggest WrestleMania event ever. Champion versus champion, winner take all, unification match, the worlds collide between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, WWE champion and the Universal champion, come together as one champion. And Brock Lesnar said the titles are going to make a baby. And considering, again, what we just saw with Sammy Guevara and Tay Conti and the TNT title and all that sort of thing, let's not talk about titles making babies. Moving on. There's nothing left to be said about Roman versus Brock. We know what their matches are like. It's been talked into the ground that it's not quite another round of the same thing, because Brock is like big banter Brock now, and Roman Reigns is playing this head of the table character. Roman Reigns as this dug-in, insecure heel, and Brock Lesnar as this over-the-top dumb jock energy babyface who doesn't have a care in the world is such a unique, weird dynamic, because the more Brock Lesnar seems carefree, the more he's also terrifying, and the more Roman Reigns seems like he's trying to grasp at straws to keep his like appearance of an aloof attitude together, the more terrifying he gets. This match is gonna bang. It's sort of undercut by the fact that when they unify the championships, that title is going to go on one brand. They're going to fabricate a new title, and we're going to go back to having 2 titles, probably by the next pay-per-view. But it's going to be a spectacle. It's going to be one of those... What did we say? We said back when The Rock took on Hogan, when The Rock took on John Cena, when John Cena took on Randy Orton. None of them were 5-star classics in the Tokyo Dome, brother, but they were the height of the spectacle of pro wrestling. And that's what this is going to be. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns is the biggest spectacle that WWE can give us, and that I expect them to deliver on that. And yeah, I really do think that Roman Reigns is going to take this new unified World Heavyweight Championship, and he's going to lead the bloodline for another year or so. That's why the Usos are going to hold on to their titles. And I'm going to make the comparison again. People think I'm joking when I say this. They are really patterning Toxic Attraction on NXT like a more laid-back female version of the bloodline. And you'll notice if you go back to my Stand and Deliver preview, I said they're either all going to lose or they're all going to win. So as much as I know the Usos are going to beat Nakamura and Rick Boogs, if they lose, I'm going to take that as a bit of a negative harbinger, because, not going to lie, the other side of the coin, the big conquering gorilla Brock Lesnar walking out of that match with his cowboy hat on and one belt over each shoulder will be fucking hilarious. Roman Reigns wins, and if I'm wrong, it's not going to bug me either. So what can I say? That's WrestleMania, guys. I'm incredibly tired. I'm going to get this up. This is going to go out to you guys on Friday morning. By the time you guys get this, I will be on day one of a 4-day weekend and hopefully be a little bit more awake than I am right now. Please, if you've made it this far, please throw it down in the comment section below or hit me up on Twitter at Spaz Phoenix and say you made it all the way through. I really do appreciate you joining me for this last this series of previews I've had to do for this loaded-ass weekend. But I will say, as wrestling fans, this is our weekend, whether you're doing ROH stuff, Impact stuff, NXT stuff, WWE stuff, WrestleMania stuff, don't call it a takeover, Stand and Deliver stuff. This is our weekend, and I hope you guys all have a really good one. Please tell me down in the box below, what are you looking forward to? What match are you looking forward to? Not just on this card, but on all the cards that are happening this weekend. Tell me if you're looking forward to something that's happening on Rampage this week. What are you looking forward to on the Hall of Fame? Let me know about all that stuff down in the comment section below, or like I said, follow me on Twitter at Spaz Phoenix. But I'm losing my voice and I'm very tired, so I'm going to cut it off right here, right now. I'm going to say I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I'm very tired and I'm tagging out. Bye, guys.